for coming. What I suggest, if you're sitting far from the first row, is that you move forward, because I would like to have some interaction during the presentation. I might actually pose some questions and wait for answers. Don't expect it to be a 3-hour presentation. I decided more or less to limit myself to 1 hour today. I have material for more, but I'm going to talk for 1 hour at most. And what I'm going to talk on started a few years ago. Actually, there is a published paper in Communication of the UTM on fraud and fraud reduction on auction sites. And the reason that I started to look at it, I started to bid on eBay and realized that there are some strange things that are happening there. And as a result, I discussed it with another colleague in a different university, and we decided to look at it and to collect data and to see what happens. So here is, I don't think I'll go over all those things, I'll go over a subset of them. Is fraud a major issue on auction sites? I'll show you some data and you can decide on your own. Trust definition and trust creation. Methods that are used by swindlers, and swindlers are very creative. They come out with more and more methods as time goes by. Methods for generating credibility. How do you generate the image on the internet that you are a credible person? State of affair and empirical studies. This is where we collect the data and what came out of the data. Phishing, I don't think I will have time to go over it. Examples of phishing, again, I don't think I will have time to go over it. Methods to reduce swindling, only if I look at the watch and have time and go over it. And then I'll discuss some open research issues. And if somebody is interested and wants to do some joint research or independent research on some of the subjects, it's fine with me. So the first issue is fraud a major issue on auction sites? And the best way to, or on the internet in general, the best way to illustrate is to show you some statistics. I'm collecting statistics of that issue probably from 2005 on. So I actually tried 2 days ago to get the latest data from 2011, and surprise, they put security on it and every method that you can think of. So I couldn't remove figures and data from the record. But, like I believe, human beings are very resourceful, and everything that you put to try and prevent them from doing something, they find a way to do it. So I found a way how to do it and to be able to present at least some of the data. These are yearly complaints received on the I63 website each year. And you can see year 2000, roughly 16,000, 17,000 complaints were received on fraud. Those are official, this is a website in the United States that collects information, self-reporting information on fraud. So then in 2001 it jumped up to 50,000, then it jumped up to 75,000. And if you notice, for between 2004 and 2007, it stayed between roughly 200,000 and 210,000. And the people that are in charge of preventing fraud started to feel good because it stabilized. Up to that point, it was going up. But then, between 2008 and 2011, you see what happened. It jumped up again. And now it's around 300,000, 320,000. So, but the rate in which fraud goes up actually decelerated. And one of the main reasons, there are several reasons for it, but one is simply we have better methods to detect fraud. And the target audience, the people that were trying to fraud, to swindle, learned something. They learned it through TV, they learned it through courses, they learned it through newspapers, they learned it from the web. And the result is that they are more careful. And when they receive my message, oh, we are happy to tell you that the UN decided to give you an award of $50 million. All what you need is to hit that button. Well, very few people today hit that button. They know that it's probably not from the UN, and he probably didn't receive the $50 million. And, but, like I said, swindlers are becoming more sophisticated, and they find ways how to convince you, not with $50 million, because you know immediately that this is ridiculous, but I'll show you other methods where it's not so obvious. Those are the complaints by gender. Those are romance type messages where somebody says, you know, I saw you crossing the street, or I met you yesterday and fell in love with you, and here is my picture, and please hit it, and we'll see if we have a match, and if you are foolish enough to hit it, that message knows how to collect your information, how to get into your system, how to penetrate many of the security mechanisms that you have, and do whatever they want to do, okay? Sometimes good things, sometimes bad things. But you can see that this is a significant amount of money. Okay? For female, for males are more careful in that respect, but there is a very good explanation. Male, probably until the age of 60, is still fertile. Women, when they reach the age of 35 to 45, this is their last chance. And so they're desperate in many cases, not always. And we hit the button, and clearly that button will regenerate some bad things for them. But you can see here that for females it's around $40 million in 2011, and for males it's around $10 million. Okay, different age groups. And you can see that they didn't bring it up. The big numbers for female are 50 to 59, and it's self-explanatory. It's a last chance phenomenon. Loan intimidation scheme, where people promise loans, and all what you need is to do the following things. Just fill up the form and give us your password, and just give us your credit card number, and we'll do the rest for you. And of course, not very good things come out of it. FBI or police impersonation. You receive a message that says, we have just detected the crime or something else, and we need your information to verify it and to make sure. And if you are foolish enough to provide the information, something bad can happen. Top 10 complaint categories between 2005 and 2008, and you can see the auction fraud initially was the highest, but auctions became better, auction houses became better and better in monitoring and catching swindlers, and over time it went down. It actually continued to go down. Credit debit card, which was very small in 2005, you can see over time went up. Non-delivery of merchandise, where you buy something from a reputable company and you don't receive the product. You pay for it, you do everything right, and you never receive the product. Well, you can see that this is going up over time, and so on. Those are complaints by state, and California is the biggest one, and it's not a wonder because California is the largest state in the US. Okay, it has the most people, so there is no wonder that it's so high. And then you can see Florida and Texas and New York, and it follows more or less the size of the state in terms of number of people. How much was lost per year in millions of dollars, and you can see in 2008, $264 million were lost during those complaints. Average dollar loss per state, and here's something interesting. Actually, it's the large ones are not the ones for which, in which gullible people live. Okay, it turns out that Washington, D.C., but the Congress and the Senate has the most gullible people. The average loss is over $1,000. Then you have Rhode Island, Wyoming, North Dakota, Vermont. And actually, the states with a lot of people are actually down the list. And then top 10 countries by count, by perpetrators. And you can see in 2008, in the United States, there were 66%, UK 10%, Nigeria 7.5%, famous Nigerian letter, and so on. Okay, you can see the different countries. And you can see what happened by 2011. The United States is almost 91%. Then you have Canada, and you have UK 1%, Canada 1.5%. It turns out that over time the US becomes the major place on which swindling is being done. So it's a major issue in the United States. So there's a very simple reason for it. Can somebody guess? Well, access to the internet, people are rich, relatively rich, so if you hit, you make money. Let me explain the economics of swindling. You have to spend resources in order, it might be time, it might be money that you spend in order to hit someone. Okay, you send out to 100,000 people, and out of 100,000, 1 or 2 will actually bite. Okay, but you have to pay for the 100,000 that you sent out. Okay, and it costs money. So swindlers lose their economics also, and look on return on investment and act accordingly. And the return on investment, if they are able to swindle somebody in the US, is relatively high, because it's common to use credit cards, debit cards, to be computerized, so once you're in, you can cause a lot of damage. So I hope thank you. Now you allow me to talk. Can you make the amplifier stronger? Not the microphone. Okay. I can hear my echo. So I hope I convince you that this is a real issue. Involves real money, and the amount of money over time goes up over time. So let's go to the next issue, which is trust. In order to be able to swindle you, I have to generate trust, to convince you that I am a trustworthy address or email or website or whatever, okay? And so how do we create trust? Biologists declare trust as reciprocity as the basis of all human systems of morality. You do something, I do something in return. So it's a basic concept. One way to measure if you trust someone is if you are willing to increase your vulnerability and for someone whose behavior you cannot control. Okay? In order to do it, you have to trust the other person or entity to do the right thing. Okay? And it received a lot of attention in the social sciences literature, and here is a definition of trust. One, it's not a simple matter, and I'll illustrate it. I have a question. I'll give you two situations. One, you deal with a person that always lies to you. You know it with certainty that he always lies to you. Okay? You are certain. Okay? So if I deal with you, I know you lie to me all the time. But here is the second option. This is a person who tells you the truth 95% of the time, but lies to you 5% of the time. You know it from empirical observation and data collection over time, so this is the situation. Which one is trustworthy of the two? Okay, it's true. The first person is trustworthy. Why? I know with certainty what he is telling me. Okay, it's counterintuitive. Most people, when I brought it up the first time, assume that if I know with a high probability that somebody is telling me the truth, then he's more trustworthy than the person who lies to me all the time. But it turns out that actually the person who lies to me all the time, and I'm sure that he's lying to me, okay, this is important. The fact that I'm sure that he's lying to me actually makes him trustworthy. Because any question that you can come up with, you can get the answer through the first person with 100% certainty. You might have to do it with multiple questions. Okay, it might be a complicated situation. But if you ask enough questions and you know he's lying all the time, you can narrow it down and to know with certainty what is the correct answer. Okay? The second case, you never know with certainty. You can ask questions, you can increase the probability that you have the correct answer, but you never know it with certainty. So actually the first one is more trustworthy, and this is counterintuitive, because I could have put here 50% lying and 50% telling you the truth. Okay, this is the worst situation, by the way. And it's difficult to find out with certainty what is the result. You can know with probability what is the correct result, but never with certainty. Trust appears in economics. It is important in the country level. There was work in economics that showed actually that if the internal relations within a country are based on trust, the more trust you have, the better off is the economic situation in that country. Alan Greenspan in 1999, the same thing about economics, for the first time. So trust is something that is earned and built. Okay, the other party, entity, it can be a company. How do I know I should trust Apple or IBM or any other company, or Google? Okay, I know I don't trust Google anymore. You can imagine why. Because they were caught lying a number of times recently, and this is enough. Okay, I will not give them any more information or personal data because they lied a number of times. So it's a two-way mechanism. Personal interactions and impression help in trust building. For example, if I do repetitive business, I did it the first time, I was not swindled. I do it the second time, I do it the 10th time. Over time, I know that I can trust. Another rule that I use is always start small. Put at risk an amount or something that you don't mind losing. Okay, and see what happens. So I'll start small, I'll buy something that is worth only $5. Okay, something that I need, but I can buy it in the store, I can buy it online. And so I'll buy it online just to see how it works. And if it works fine and there is no problem, I might go to something which is $20 or $30. Or at some point I'll be willing to buy something $20,000. Okay, I bought a car through the internet. Okay, I saved probably $10,000 by doing it. And the only reason that I agreed to do it, okay, because I started small, I've seen that it's working, I'm not being swindled, went up, and finally jumped in and started to bid on, I bought a Lexus through the internet, and it cost me around $20,000, okay, and it would have cost me around $30,000 if I would have gone to a store and bought it, okay? So trust building history, past reputation, and the value of social capital. In many situations, I don't know the person. I don't know you, but I know him. And I trust him. And I trust his judgment. And he tells me that you are a good guy. Okay? So this is reputation effect through intermediaries. And this is something that has some value. Okay, a person that is trustworthy has some capital, economic capital, social capital. A person that people are not sure if it's trustworthy, and this is true for politicians, it's true in general, you treat him differently or her differently. If you have access to objective measures, use them. Okay? There are, in the US, I assume here too, there are credit card rating services. And before I give you my credit card, I can go online and check for a fee if you are a reputable credit card service provider, or if your credit card is worth something, okay? And so I'll give you another example. A friend of mine went to Indonesia to do business, okay? Somebody offered him a good deal on something, and he went to Indonesia to do service. First time in Indonesia, he doesn't have the slightest idea if it's a two-way. The people in Indonesia that he dealt with didn't know if he's reputable at all. Okay, he might be a swindler. He didn't know if they are reputable. Okay, so how do you get across? It turns out there is a mechanism which is called a bank letter of credit. And he got a bank letter of credit in the US and brought it with him to Indonesia, showed it to them, and they knew they don't have to be afraid of him, because if something goes wrong, they can go to the bank and get that amount of money. So he was able to do business. They did similar things to prove to him that they are also reputable and mean business. Okay, so car history. I told you buying the Lexus. Among one of the things that I did, I bought a service, Carfax, where you can go online and find the full history of the car with a warranty that if they miss something, they give you the money back for what they missed. They have probably insurance for such cases. And I was able to get in, and I see bidding on cars, and some of the bidding was attractive, and I go in and I look, and from the history report I could deduce that car was involved in an accident or missed some services, or something was strange with the miles. The miles go up and suddenly they go down. So something is not right. But I also found some cars that looked okay, and I was willing to bid on them. So again, using car history, reliable car history, I was able to transact on the internet. Let me tell you another thing which is interesting. It is true for the United States. I don't know if it holds in other countries. House buying. By law in the United States, if somebody sells you a house and doesn't give you the correct history of that house, then at any point in time you can ask for your money back and giving back the house. Okay? And to give you an example, if a house was underwater, okay, there was flood and the house, he has to tell you. Even if the house looks great, you know, he fixed it and you don't see anything, but he has to tell you. If he didn't tell you, you have the right to do it back. So mechanisms exist because if you don't have it, people will be hesitant to transact. Okay? You don't see the house, you have never been in it, it looks nice from the pictures. Should you bid on such a house? Well, if you know that that warranty exists, and by law it exists, then you don't hesitate in many cases. I mentioned already, use references, intermediaries, use the transitive closure. I explained already. You start from one person, I've got your name, I ask you, can you provide me with additional names? Okay, and the additional names will provide me with additional names, and I will probably get additional information. For example, I might ask who are his neighbors, or if he worked somewhere, for whom did he work, and then go to that place and collect information. So using a transitive closure is very useful. Another mechanism is to put the burden on the other party. For example, legally binding contracts that bind in both directions, not in one direction. Payment after delivery. Okay? In big transactions, I will insist always that I pay after the delivery, never before. When I was in the US, I bid on something, didn't win it, and then I received a message from somebody in Italy, Torino. I am in Torino, I have the same product and I'm willing to sell it to you for even a lower price. Some came with the same price, but some even came with a lower price. And please, if interested, get in touch with me. And I did my research already on swindling on the internet, so I wanted to see what happens actually. So I decided, in some cases, that sure, I'm interested, what do I need to do? And usually the answer would be, use Western Union, send us the money. By the way, if you send money through Western Union, you cannot get it back. Okay, it's a one-way transaction. And typically, I knew already, if it's a Western Union, forget it, I'm not going to do it. But that guy came and said, oh, I have it, I don't mind if you send me through a bank transfer or some wire transfer, and you'll get the product. What did I do? I asked him, from where are you in Torino? What is your name? And he gave me a name and an address, and they were correct. Again, on the internet, you can check it. Okay? So it was a valid name and a valid address. And then I sent him a very innocent message. Oh, by coincidence, I'm flying to Italy, and I can stop in Torino, and we can meet face to face, and you can give me the product, and I pay you in cash. Why do I need to transfer? I'll be in 2 days in Torino, and we can do it. I never heard from you again. So in some cases, there were cases where they continued. But again, they were swindlers, okay? Because they continued up to some point, because each time I laid more requirements,
you know, you meet me, I know there is a cafe in this and that location, and I go there frequently, and I've never been in that cafe, but on the internet you can see the cafe, you know where it is, and I'm telling, I will be there, will you come, and we can perform the transaction, and of course you don't hear from them. Another mechanism is to offer them dry line activities. Not crime, but, you know, I'll pay you in cash. You don't have to report it. Okay? If he jumps on it, a red flag goes up. If he hesitates and is not sure, it shows that that person probably has some morality. Again, you're never guaranteed, but there is a chance. Bribes, and simply observe the reaction, how the person reacts. And if you offer a bribe and he jumps out of his chair and leaves the room, it's different from someone who says, let's talk about it. Okay, so now there is another rule here. Someone who gives you secrets will reveal your secrets to others. So this is a rule that I always use, and it's quite useful. Like I said, most of the research that was done so far was on how does a system trust an individual. But trust, like I mentioned, is a two-way mechanism, and so there's a mirror question. How does an individual develop trust in the system? And there are several aspects. One is, how can you be sure that you are communicating with the real system? Okay, during my research I discovered many cases where you think you are communicating with the system, you are dealing with Federal Express, and it's not Federal Express, it's a virtual Federal Express that somebody created and is trying to take advantage of you. So how do you protect yourself against it? One way that I'm using, and I already mentioned it, I use physical entities, an actual address, a coffee house, and I mentioned something. It's very easy today to find on the internet. He says, let's meet in this and that corner. I say, oh, fine, give me a minute. Oh, let's meet in this cafe. I'm going there frequently. I've never been in that cafe, but I go there frequently. And I see the reaction. And try to get as close as possible to physical entities. This is a big problem. Okay, I mentioned Google. Google promised up front that they will not share your data with anyone. You can give them your data in confidence, your private data, the things that they ask you to fill up, and are you married, your sex, your address, and additional information. It turns out that they are sharing it. Okay, it was discovered. And how do you make sure? And the same thing applies in auctions. An auction house tells you, we are following the following rules. How do you know they are following those rules? You'll be surprised how many cases I discover where they supply you with false information. Okay? An auction house can make money by taking advantage of spread and telling you you didn't win and your next bidding jump is the next one. And actually you won, but you don't know it. okay? And they can easily put in scam bidders there, a virtual bidder that does not exist, force you to raise your bid. By the way, it's very easy for them. Why? Why is it easy for them, do you think? Somebody has an idea? It's probably not the first time that you bid on that item. Okay, you lost already. You had 3 auctions, 4 auctions, 10 auctions where you bid on that item. So they have a fairly good idea how far you will go. Okay, they have your bidding history. They know who you are. And they know today you went up to $200, but actually you were willing to go up to $350. Okay? There is no one that is willing to go over $200 today. It's very easy for them to put a shield bid of $225. You will be $250. They might try it again. You don't know it. They make money. So, I have actually caught a few cases of that type. So let me go to the next topic. Those are methods used by swindlers. Some of them, the list is very long, and I'll give you only a few of them. Non-delivery. If you remember the statistics, non-delivery is becoming big. And you buy something, and the swindler receives the payment, doesn't send anything to the buyer. Okay? I use a credit card when I'm paying, okay? Because my credit card gives me a warranty that if I'm being swindled, they will cover it. Okay? Not every credit card does it, so you need to check it. But, so he didn't deliver. Delivery doesn't take place, and no refund is offered or made. You're out of money, and unless you use some mechanism that protects you, an insurance mechanism, you're out of money. This is an interesting scheme. Okay? It has several variants. And don't get ideas, please. But the scheme is the following. The delivery doesn't take place, and the seller offers you a refund. He will return the money to you. This is and he actually returns the money to you. This is a very interesting scheme. And I can tell you he makes money by doing it. So how does he do it? Well, you're happy. Okay, try to imagine that you paid for something, discover non-delivery, and the money comes back. Will you complain? Will you file a complaint? Probably no. I have better things to do in my life. So let's see what happens here. The seller offers to sell you an expensive item. This is usually on auction sites. To sell an expensive item worth a few $1,000s. Okay, when I did it and I followed it was flat panel TVs. Okay, LCD, plasma TVs, and they were expensive when I followed it. Today it might be a different item. It states in advance that the actual shipment will take place in 45 days. Okay, he has to collect the orders and bring it to the manufacturer, and you'll get your TV in 45 days. Fine, I'm willing to pay, and he gives me a good deal. Shipment doesn't take place within that time frame. What happens next? Of course, I complain, send an email. He has a complaint box where I can write and say, you promised delivery. 45. By the way, I will not wait 45 days. How many days will I wait? Probably 50 or 60 days. Okay, he promised 45. He doesn't come after 45 days. Well, he's still shipping. Okay, so I will wait probably a week before I actually contact him. So I contact him and ask him, why is the delay? And the typical answer is, there was huge demand for that item, and the manufacturer doesn't have capacity, but he promised me that you will get it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or in 1 month. Okay, and by the way, if you are not happy, I'm willing to refund you now. What will you do? Well, most people say, well, I waited already 50 days. What is 20 or 25 more days? I'll wait. Okay? So they wait. Some might ask for a full refund, but most people will wait. They waited so long. What else? 20 more days. And then one of the following events takes place. No shipments takes place. By that time, at least 60, maybe 70 days have passed from the time that you bought it. Okay? That he was paid, had your money. Where does the seller make money? In this scheme. There are many variants of it. In the simple variant, he makes money on the float. Let's do a simple calculation. He puts up 25 items a day. Okay, 25 TVs. By the way, I notice it's always different models. It's 25 TVs, but they are not identical. There is a reason for it. So you cannot catch it. And the average final price is around $2,000. This was the price then. Today he might put iPods or something else to generate a similar reaction. How much cash is available to him? $2,000 times 25 a day times 60 days. On average, he has each day $3 million invested or going to be invested. Okay? Now think a minute if you have $3 million to invest. You can get today maybe not 4%, 3% guaranteed. Okay? No risk. Okay, but I'm using the 4%. This was the number 2 or 3 years ago. It's safe. You get $120,000 a year. What did you do for it? Think a minute to have that scheme working. What do you need? A program. That's all. You didn't do a thing. The program knows to list the items on the auction site. Okay? The program knows how to handle your money. There is already a button in, so the program knows what comes in and what to look for, and you have access. Why didn't you deliver it on time? I want to cancel my order. I want a refund, and so on. So you are not involved in it in any stage. Okay, everything is done automatically. The refund is generated automatically. The deposit into a bank account is done automatically. You don't do a thing. You simply paid someone $10,000 or $20,000 to develop that program, okay, that web application, and that's it. So, this is a basic scheme, but I've seen some more advanced schemes. No shipment takes place, and the buyer is refunded his money, and you make money on the flow. This is not the end of the process. Let me show you other variants. Shipment takes place. It happened to me. Okay, I ordered something. I ordered actually a laptop that had a mobile Pentium in it, a mobile type processor, a given speed. It was around 2 gigahertz, and I wait, and after 65, 70 days, finally I get my laptop. I was suspicious. I actually checked, opened it, and discovered, oh, and by the way, he said to me, you know what, I'll send you a better model, 2.4 gigahertz instead of 2. Okay, since you waited so much, I'll do it. And I open it, and of course there is a 2.4 gigahertz Pentium in it. But it's a regular Pentium. It's not a mobile Pentium. A difference of between $100 and $200 at that point in time. Okay? Most people don't pay attention to it. Okay? He tells them something. He sells them a computer that is better, a laptop that is better than what they wanted initially. They are happy. In my case, since I noticed it, he apologized, we made a mistake, agreed to receive it back, sent me even coupons for free flights and so on, because I can understand it. He didn't want me to go on the website and tell the story. Okay, he had a business. So this is one way where they ship you something which is a replacement. Okay, an inferior replacement. But there is even another variant. Shipment actually takes place of the promised product. Surprise! After 70 days, 75 days, I get the product that was promised to me. Okay, no substitution, nothing, except one thing. If you check, and this happens, and they know exactly what periods of the year, you know, the 2 months before Christmas, it happens in the US. In Europe, there are other periods when it happens. I'm sure in Malaysia, there are periods when it happens, or in Japan. Prices go down. Okay, and you can predict it. You know exactly it will go down 3% or 6% per month. Well, what did you do? You bought something for $2,000, you gave him the $2,000. That product went down in price 4%. Over 2 months, you do the calculation. Okay, $160. He made $160 and he ships it to you. And by the way, this is not the only variant. I've noticed another variant. He uses a mega search, auction search mechanism. Okay, there are those agents that do it automatically for you. You specify the products, they go to many auction houses and sites and find out when that item is being auctioned. And then you can attach to it rules. And the rule might say, look, bid up to $1,800. And he will bid up to, those must be standard items, well-defined standard items. He will bid up to $1,800, and if he wins, all what he does, he tells the auction size, he gives your address as a shipping address, pays, and you receive the item. Okay? He made $200 and shipped you the item. You're happy. So this basic mechanism has many variants. Okay? The fundamental one is the float, using the float. Happened to me once. Okay, I actually decided at some point, I have a research budget, to take $25,000 and use them to see what mechanisms are being used. Okay, so on purpose I'll do foolish things just to see what happens. And in one of the cases I bid on something, and not very expensive item. It was around $30, the final price. And it arrived, and I was foolish enough to put it aside. I was busy, so I didn't open it immediately. A month later, I needed it, so I opened it, and it turned out it was damaged. Okay, a damaged item that was sent to me. I didn't bother even to write back and to do something, but things that I've seen are somebody receives a package and it has in it sand or rocks. Okay, this is not what you ordered, but this is why. Why sand and rocks? So now exactly what is the weight of the package. So they put enough sand in it so it will have the correct weight. And if you are foolish enough not to open it immediately, then this is what you get. Rocks or sand. Partial segments, substitute items, different things of that sort are happening. Damage, not functional. I received one that was completely damaged. Here is another one. Shipment of stolen wood. Direct stealing. The seller puts up on the auction site items that are stolen. Okay, you bid for it, you pay for it, you get it, it's your problem. Okay, there is here a big legal issue. And then there is indirect stealing. This is the easy part. The difficult part is indirect stealing. Seller puts up for bid items that he doesn't own or doesn't have at all. Once they were auctioned, he contacts the supplier, buys the item, and asks to ship them to the buyer, which is fine, except he uses a stolen credit card or a credit card that he doesn't own to pay for it. You receive the item, and it's too late for the seller to discover it, and then there is a big mess. Who is liable for it? After the auction, I mentioned already the Toronto incident, received an email saying We have seen you bid on an item, you went up to $1,800. We are willing to sell it to you for a discount of $1,700. Well, I have a problem. If I'm foolish enough to respond, then typically the seller has to pay through Western Union, or a cashier check, or a money order, things that are not reversible. Once you've done it, it's as if you gave him cash. They promise to mail, usually they don't. Different variants, I don't have time. Let me mention only one of them that I found interesting. I mentioned to you a virtual Federal Express. Okay? And I am sure that I'm dealing with Federal Express because everything, it looks like the Federal Express site. No wonder they copied it. Okay, it's very easy to copy. So they copied it, and then they made one small change. I think that I'm dealing with www.abcd.com. How many of you pay attention where instead of com appears org? How many of you pay attention where instead of the dot here, there is a comma? Okay? And today they're even more sophisticated. They have it correctly. You hit it, and an IP address is changed automatically. So there are mechanisms to do it too. So you think you're dealing with one company, you're dealing with a virtual company, and then they ask you for your credit card and password and date of birth and many other things, and collect your personal information that they can use in other locations. Shield bidding. And this is something, I mentioned it already, it's a quick back method. And it's the following thing. This is an interesting one. The seller lists hundreds of very expensive items open for bidding. Okay, hundreds of them. They are not identical. Each one is different. Okay, they belong to the same class, there might be TVs, but it's a different manufacturing, it's a different model, it's a different screen size. 200 of them, 300 of them, 500 of them. All of them start at the same time, more or less, and all have the same termination time. So the finish at the same time, all of them. The termination time is always a few minutes before 24 hours. Okay, so if I do it now, it's 20 minutes to 12. It will be 30 minutes to 12 exactly tomorrow, when all the auctions on those items terminate. When I discovered it, one of the first questions that I asked myself, why is it 24 hours? Why not 18 hours, or 36 hours, or 40 hours? Why don't they insist on a few minutes before 24 hours? Somebody can guess? Any idea? You know, whenever I observe something like it, I say it's not a coincidence. There must be a reason. Okay? And I see it happening again and again. And again, it's 5 minutes before 24, 8 minutes before 24, 10 minutes before 24. There is a reason. Here is the reason. The auction houses, if you complain about something, they have it exactly a 24-hour minimal response time. Okay, so if I complain about something, I'll hear back probably tomorrow after 24 hours. It's very rare that I hear something back earlier. How do I know it? Well, clearly they will not catch it if all the auctions are done by 24 hours. Okay, by that time, everyone paid and is out of money. I detected a case by coincidence. Okay, many of those things happened by coincidence. I was looking for something and then noticed something. Okay, what I did here, I was looking for an item. And then there was a function, all items listed by that seller. And suddenly I see, you know, I was looking for a TV, and suddenly I see 300 TVs there. All of them different. All of them quantity 1. None of them quantity 2 or 3 or 4, all of them 1. And all of them finish at exactly the same time, and that time was a few minutes after, before 24 hours after listing the item. And all of them were listed at the same time. I noticed it. Immediately I wrote an alert. This is eBay. Okay, so I wrote an alert to eBay immediately, okay, because I realized what is going on here. Nothing was done. Okay, so I waited 24 hours. After 24 hours and a few minutes, I received an email back. Thank you for submitting it, and we will investigate it. By the time they investigated, it was too late. In another case that happened a week or two later, I put in the subject stars, urgent, critical, and they actually acted. They removed all the items immediately, removed the seller, and okay. But you look on it, and this is someone that makes $500,000 within 24 hours. Okay, he doesn't do it every day, but you don't need to do it every day. It's enough you do it once a month. You can live well with $500,000 a month. So, this is one example. 160 items listed, plasma TVs. The typical bid was, and they listed, you know, the huge TVs that take out the whole wall. So the prices were $2,000 up to $8,000 per listing, depending on the model. You do the calculation. The swindle, depending on the mix, was $400,000 to $700,000 in 24 hours. And something else I noticed. He had an excellent, outstanding reputation. You know, there is I pay attention to those things, and I'm sure everyone bids does it. So I looked at the reputation index. It was extremely high. Okay, and I looked on the feedback, and the feedback was excellent. Okay, in some cases, he shipped me the item before I paid for it. Okay, you cannot ask for better. Let me stop here, I go to the next item. Like I said, I could spend the whole lecture time just on this thing. How do I generate credibility? Okay, I'm that guy that does it. How do I generate credibility? Online credibility. In auctions, it's fairly easy. You put up many low-cost items and sell them. Okay? And sometimes those are items that cost 25 cents, a stamp. A baseball card, okay? The bidding price on it, 25 cents, $50. And you put many of them. And you provide outstanding service. And what happens? You build excellent reputation. Once you have established yourself as somebody with an excellent reputation, and by the way, you don't go for the kill immediately. You wait a few months. Why? Because if you look on eBay and a few other auction sites, the major ones, there is a limit to how far you can go back and actually see the individual items. So you don't know, you see very high reputation, okay, 1,000, 2,000. The feedback is outstanding, okay, no one complained. You assume you are dealing with a reputable guy. He is not, okay, then he does, okay, and some don't distinguish even between buying and selling. So if you're smart, you buy the 25-cent items and then sell them, so you get twice the reputation. But eBay now, after we published our paper, is actually distinguishing between buying and selling. So not everyone does it. Here is an example. Okay. The feedback looks great. Okay, look on that line here. 100 positives, 114 positive in the last 6 months, past 12 months, 114. It looks good. Okay. And to the innocent buyer, he might decide to buy. Okay. And you can even look at the individual items. But if you actually look at them, this is what you discover on some of them. A baseball card, this is what was sold. The waiting bid was 50 cents. And I can guarantee you that he shipped the item even before he was paid for it. Okay? Because his objective is not to make money on the item, is to build a reputation. So, and when you look at the feedback, you'll see it from time to time, somebody actually commenting and saying, He shipped it to me before I actually paid for it, okay? Look what a great guy is. Well, that great guy is a swindler. So let me go to the next item. What we actually did, I will cover only two bullets. Auction sites publicize, when you look on the auction sites, they claim they have 10 fraudulent transactions out of 10,000. Some of them will publicize 20, okay, but this is a range. 1 out of 1,000, 2 out of 1,000, okay. So if you look on it, it looks as a trustable site, okay. And from just looking on it and participating, I realized that something is wrong. For one reason or another, when I do the auction, the bidding, I'm swindled in a higher percentage. So at some point I asked myself, am I unlucky? Am I special? And they know that they can swindle me, or maybe the data that the auction houses provide is incorrect. And this is why we did the study. We were surprised to find out that no independent research was done to test and verify that claim. So, okay, I said already, many suspicious bids and result, and notice the extracurricular activity after the bid. So where you receive those strange emails and they know a lot about you and offer you special deals. I started the research with Professor Tucci. He's a professor at EPFL, and we use the following model. If we have a site that has a large number of sellers, it attracts many buyers. Okay? If a site has very few items, you'll not see many buyers that are interested. If a large number of buyers are attracted, more sellers are attracted. And this is actually a positive feedback mechanism. So what happens is that it grows with time. Okay, there is a positive feedback effect. What we did, we started a joint survey, designed an online auctioneer, and sent it to 1,298 recent winners on an auction site. You cannot do it today, okay? Because after we published what we have observed, eBay changed the system. You cannot know the full name, okay, or the characteristic of the person that is bidding or selling. You don't have that information anymore. If you notice, in the past you could have said Gavish. Today there is no Gavish. There is G, star, 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 star. They can put as many star and then an H at the end. Okay? And I can be one person in one auction and a different person in a different auction. My day will be completely different. So this was probably the last opportunity to do an objective study of that type. We tried actually afterwards to work with eBay to get from them the data. They were very cooperative. They gave us all meaningless data. They were happy to provide it, but the minute we asked for things that are meaningful, we couldn't get it. So, as for their experience, had a questionnaire, roughly 10% responded, which is typical to online surveys of the type. And we realized actually we did a preliminary study on a smaller set, and that actually we might overestimate or underestimate, because we have here two conflicting things that takes place. If you were swindled, there are people who don't like the idea of advertising that they were swindled. Basically, they're saying you are a fool. Okay? So they will not respond, which means underestimating. On the other hand, and one case is in mind very strongly, people who were swindled and are so unhappy that they are steaming and want to put it out and do whatever they can to advertise it. Okay? We had a case where we sent it out to somebody who was supposedly a winner in one of those auctions, somebody in Greece, before they went bankrupt. And that person bought several items online, a camera, a laptop, a telescope, a few other items. He spent close to $10,000 and didn't receive any of them. Okay? And he was so upset and happy that somebody contacted him and was willing to do something about it. Okay? So we don't know where we are. When we did the study, we didn't know if we are overestimating or underestimating, because we have the two effects. This is what came out, okay? And we were careful. In one case, to assume that everyone who didn't respond was happy. Okay? So, for sure we are underestimating. But we didn't mind, because we wanted to see if it's 1 out of 1,000 or it's something else. And the other was to take the people who actually responded and take the percentage out of the people who actually responded. This is why we have two curves. Okay, overestimation and underestimation. And what came out of it? The most conservative estimate, only over responses, was 21%. Okay, it's not 1 out of 1,000. Most conservative one was 2%. Again, much higher than 1 out of 1,000, or 2 out of 1,000. Okay, significantly higher than what they advertise on their sites. Okay, this is what they advertise, and those are the numbers that we came. Clearly, they were not happy that such numbers come out and become public, because the paper was published. It's on the communication of the UTM, and the data is available. But we are talking on 1 out of 10,000 versus 200 out of 10,000. We started a much larger study, and then in the middle of it, eBay changed their the way how they identify sellers and buyers. You cannot deduce email addresses, because what we did, we actually had a program that went over sellers and buyers, mainly buyers in this case, and tried to find out from all their private information or public information their email address, and we were able to get it for around 1,300 of them. We actually went over some things that contained probably 1 million buyers, but only 1,300 of them had actually their email address. So you could deduce their email address from what appeared. And here are some ideas for future research. There is a question, what is a premium to a reputation? If somebody has a positive reputation, is there a premium for it? If somebody has a negative reputation, is there a cost to it? And we can actually measure it on auction sites if we can get the data. Are there differences in fraud rates based on the item that is put out for auction? Okay. Clearly, if I'm selling baseball cards, I don't think there'll be a lot of fraud there. If I'm selling you diamonds, the chances for fraud are fairly high in that case. So there is the issue of well-defined items versus unique items. A painting is a unique item. Okay? Even if you take the same painter again, or the same artist again, a second paint will not be the same as the first one. So there is a question of well-defined versus unique items, controversial versus traditional items. Does the locations, the cities, the regions, the country have an effect? Shortage and fads. Okay, there is a famous case of the patch doll where there was a tremendous shortage in those dolls, and people were willing to pay during Christmas for a doll that you could have bought for $10. Parents were willing to pay $500 or $1,000, so their child will have such a doll. So it's possible to develop statistical methods to detect fraud, and very little has been done on that thing. A lot was done in accounting. Okay, how to detect fraud in accounting systems. But in auctions on the internet, it's possible to use statistical methods in order to detect and raise suspicion of fraud. Other methods that can be developed to reduce auction site control. It's not healthy. Okay, the example of Google, but there are many like them, so I don't want to use Google only. Role of regulatory bodies. Can you estimate price of a winning bid before the bidding is complete? Okay, you look on who are the bidders, in what rate, whatever information is available, and can you, based on it and the history, estimate what will be the winning bid? Because if you can estimate it, it has an effect on how you will behave. Auction site size, this is an economic issue. Is there an advantage to size? Is it irreversible? Is it written somewhere in the Bible that eBay will be here forever? Or can something happen where eBay will suddenly disappear? okay, over a process. It's an economic issue. Developing methods to quickly identify abnormal condition, okay, and I'm listing a few of them. Simply, I'm running out of my time by a lot. Dynamics of the bidding process, what steps has to use as a minimal or larger. This is your behavior as a bidder. What are your bidding strategies? We know it from experience that in the last 5 minutes of an auction, if the time now is 12 or 5, and the auction ends at 12 or 10, something happens. Suddenly people are bidding very fast, one after the other. There are people that are waiting for the last second to make the last bid. And, does it make sense? And what makes sense in the last 5 minutes? This is an interesting question. I'm being asked many times when I make that presentation, which is, why don't auction size houses do more to reduce swindling? Aren't they interested to reduce swindling? Okay? They advertise that there is no swindling, we shouldn't worry about it, but if our study was correct, the empirical study was correct, what they advertise is probably not the truth. So why don't they do something about it? And the answer is actually simple. There is a legal liability issue. If they say, here is an auction, and we are not liable, okay, we don't do a thing. We just guarantee that we follow the rules, we tell you what the rules are, you cannot sue them. Well, you can try, you'll probably lose. Okay, because they didn't promise you that the auction is fair and without swindlers and without many of the things that I mentioned. Can they be sued if they move a seller by mistake? I claim that you are a swindler. I sent a message to eBay. eBay comes back and removes you. And you claim, I'm not a swindler, and I will sue you for it. And they can be sued for doing it. Okay? So the two types of mistakes are not identical in terms of cost to the auction house. There is a big asymmetry issue in terms of power and economics between sellers and buyers in any auction. And it comes from the following observation. If no sellers exist on an auction site, that auction site does not exist. It doesn't have items to list and to sell. But if items are there, buyers will come. If I'm an auction site, to whom do I pay attention? To the sellers or to the buyers? I know if sellers are not there, I'm doomed. I don't have a business. But I know if I have sellers, okay, the buyers will come. Some buyers will come. So I treat sellers differently than I'm treating bidders. And this is a problem that I don't know how to solve because it's a fundamental problem. Okay? Can you develop something where the power can be shared, the economic power can be shared, and for the system to be more fair to both sides? Okay? Let me stop here. You have lunch, and I don't want to take too much of your lunch time. If you have a few questions, I'm willing to answer them. Yes? Please raise your voice. So
yes, I'm Hamdan, as you can know, the computer science being my PhD. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for this magnificent speech. And I have a question on this. For the fraud or this kind of things, is there any collaboration between the countries to provide a cyber law to protect the privacy of the people? For example, the Google, is there any cyber law, especially in this globalization and these kind of things? Is it playing a real role these days? And the cyber law, where is the cyber law in this fraud and these kind of things?
Well, first of all, there are studies that look on country-specific issues. Okay, so what happens in China versus what happens in the United States, and how do local laws, country laws, affect what happens on the internet. And on top of it, there is an effort to come up with something which is international, an international agreement that will apply, but it's not easy because no country wants to give up its own rights. Okay? I'm in the US. If I try to say I do something because of international law, oh no, our laws take precedence. And I'm sure this applies to many countries. Okay? So there is effort to try and come up with things. Look, on some things, I'm not speaking on auction sites or on the internet, but internationally, there are some agreements, commercial agreements that cross country boundaries. On the internet, it didn't happen yet. My guess is because no country suffered enough. Okay, if there be enough countries that suffer as a result of it, then probably something will be declared. What happens today is that most of the damages are paid by the individual or by insurance companies. And the insurance companies put it in as part of doing business. Okay? When you pay your credit card $100 a year, that $100 contains in it some insurance. It might be only $10 or $20, which is insurance. But if that company has a billion credit card holders, then that $10 or $20 is $10 or $20 billion. And with $10 and $20 billion of insurance, you can cover a lot.
Okay, so in Google case, now, they are breaking the privacy of the users. So I feel...
Can you use the microphone because I cannot hear you, it's not the battery.
Okay, so in the Google case, my question, they are breaking the privacy of the users. So I found a user in the Google, I have email, they are taking my data, they are breaking my privacy. I agreed with them, there are agreements, they will not use my data, so I would like to take my right from them. So how can I go to these kind of things? Is there law? Should I go to that country? Should I go to any place to protect my privacy? Because it is a very important issue these days for the people.
In this specific example, actually things are happening. The government of France is suing Google. Germany is suing Google. Okay? It's not by international law, it's by law of that country. So the citizens of France might have been damaged as a result of what Google has done. The citizens of Germany might have been, and if there are enough citizens here in Malaysia that were damaged because of what Google has done, I can show you,
then there is a basis for the government to do it. There is also in the United States, it's not common in many countries, something which is called class action suit. A class action suit is a situation where the damage to each individual is fairly small. Okay, so they breach your privacy, but you calculate what is the value of breaching your privacy. In that case, it's only $10. So it's not a lot of money. You will not open a lawsuit for when you can, all what you can get back is $10. But there is a concept of class action, where there is a lawyer or a group of lawyers that get together and sue Google for everyone in the United States that has that problem. Okay? It might be only 50 million, but 50 million times $10 is $500 million. So they are happy to do it. Okay? Actually, they're going out of their way to do it. Class action suit. But you as an individual are gaining very little. The only thing that happens is that Google stops doing it. Okay, because for them $500 million is real money. Why do the lawyers agree to do it? Because they get 25%, for example, of what happens in the court. Okay, usually it's a settlement. It doesn't go to court. Okay, a settlement is a few $100 million, and they get a quarter of it. Okay, so they are happy to do it. The final agreement is $200 million. Okay, Google wants to pay only 100, the lawyers want 500. And the reach an agreement, $200 million. So they are so happy. $50 million is real money for them. Google is happy. They didn't pay the $500 million. Okay, so they only $200 million. So everyone is happy except you. But you are happy because you know that the chances that Google will do it again is very low.
Thank you so much.
Yes. You don't care about your lunchtime. It's okay.
Good afternoon, Prof. My name is Gafar Yusuf from UTM, Faculty of Human Resource Management and Human Resource. Thank you very much for the time and for the beautiful lecture. Please, this question, we do expect it's not to intimidate or to do anything, but just to get clear about what you say. I want to pick you up on the first question, the starting of your presentation when you're talking about trust. That about trust, yes. Yeah. You said if somebody is constantly telling me lies, and maybe 100% telling lies, and somebody is 95 at the truth of this. Now, let me bring you to this. In Africa, in some developing countries, where you have some leaders that are constantly, I don't want to mention the country, that are constantly saying the wrong thing, doesn't care about human beings, and then doesn't know the importance of trust. Then we have in advanced country, where the leaders or the leader is always constant. It's not really constant, it's about 95% trustworthy. Who do I trust them?
Well, I don't want to go into politics because when I was probably 8 years old, my father told me that all politicians are crooks. So, and it took me almost 10 years to realize, I was surprised when he told me, but it took me almost 12 years to realize how correct he was. Okay, when I got involved in politics. Okay, and I've seen all the people around me are crooks, and if I want to continue in politics, okay, I was a young person, if I want to continue in politics, I have to become a crook too. And I decided, by the way, not because they are broken crooks. It's because in politics you have to do compromises. Okay? And if I want someone to support what I want to do, I have to support what he wants to do. And I might not like what he wants to do. So it's a fundamental issue, okay? And the only way that political systems will work is through compromises, okay? It's not that the people are bad. I'm not attaching a good or bad value judgment to it. But this is how the system works, okay? It doesn't matter which country, unless you are a dictator. If you are a dictator, you don't need to compromise.
Thank you, Prof.
Well, thank you, and have a good lunch. And you have my email address. You have my email address. If you have more questions, comments, or you want to get involved in research on some of the things that I mentioned here, please feel free to contact and to discuss it. Thank you.